What's up, what's up? It's time for Done Way Past Funny with your host, G.D. Fenderson. Join us as we take a look back at the early works of seasoned comedians before they were seasoned with this week's guest, Kristy Belich. It's time to get down and get dope with Done Way Past Funny. Hi, I'm G.D. Fenderson, certified forensic humorist and host of Done Way Past Funny. Thank you for joining us as we continue our interview with the headlining feminist, Kristy Belich. Enjoy. All right, let's do this. Let's go to your clip.
Okay, this has been the scariest. This has been scary, but I'm telling you, you're the only person I would do this to watch this clip with, so I'm grateful.
All right, we're gonna set it up. It's Antone's.
Yes. Antone's in
Austin, Texas, and the venue itself. It's a music venue, but they have comedy on occasion, or a weekly comedy show, or.
Well, the backstory is I was on the show Kill Tony. This is from episode 488 from January 26th or 27th, 2021. This is a show that was filmed at the Comedy Store, and then the show moved from LA to Austin, Texas. So I had a monthly spot on that show, and this is basically a video of me resigning from the show. This is my formal signature punching out. So that's what this clip is, me punching off the show.
Okay, so this club existed in LA before?
Kill Tony's like a show on YouTube. They're like a podcast, and they started in the Comedy Store. They just had like their 10-year anniversary as well. And comics go on the show and they perform 1 minute of stand-up comedy. And I had been on the show a couple times, and in LA I got a monthly spot. COVID kind of broke up the situation. So the show, the comics that run the show, and all the regulars on the show moved to Austin, Texas. I was already in Austin, Texas for about a month. I had relocated, and some fuck shit went down, and I've never really gotten my full say on this clip. So this is the clip of me basically being like, okay, guys, I don't like how you're treating me, and I'm leaving. Like, I'm going. I'm signing myself off, basically.
Okay, kind of like Cartman. Screw you guys.
I'm going to Oklahoma City. That's what happened.
Okay, here's the clip. And then anytime you want to pause it, just let me know, and we can discuss whatever it is that just you want to discuss there. We're going to address it. Okay, cool.
Sounds cool.
Here she is, Christina Michelle.
Given the events in Washington, D.C., with everything that's gone on, I'm from Washington, D.C., Maryland, and I used to be an intern for the United States Senate. Instead of taking down Congress with like Viking hats and shitting on their mail and stuff, I'll share a story. So I was in the bathroom once near a Senate, there's a chef that came in from like a Senate dining room, and she walked into the bathroom, and against girl code, because there's girl code in bathrooms, she took a steaming, hot shit, just dropped her load. It's like she had IVF in her anus, and she was doing plop tuplets in the toilet, you know? And then I was like kind of disgusted and like flabbergasted. And she got up, and she left without washing her hands. And she served senators spaghetti right before they went to the floor to vote. And that is how you fuck over Congress, one dirty shit at a time.
There you go. Kristina Michelle, everybody. That's fun.
Okay.
Hello.
Good.
Hello, how are you?
How are you boys doing today?
Good. So it's 2 weeks in a row for you. You signed up with a different stage name tonight than last week.
Yeah, I signed up with my given name.
Why is that?
Because you told me I could only come in once a month as a regular.
Uh-huh. Well, not really as a regular, but to do the special psychic reading thing that you became famous for last week. So then what do you think is going to happen here?
Well, I mean, I'm Kristy Belich, the comedian.
Did you sign up under different names, multiple names on tonight?
I signed up under Kristina Michelle because I saw this motherfucker at Baker Street Pub last motherfucking Tuesday, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, can I have my regular spot? And you said, don't you want to sign up, like, every week?
And you said no. You said I'd rather have the once-a-month spot, and I looked you back in your eyes, and I called your bullshit bluff. And I said, you can pick one or the other. And you said, I'd rather have a regular spot then. And I go, okay, then you can't sign up.
Well,
so you signed up under a different... Are you listening?
I'm listening.
So then you signed up under a different name tonight, and you think you can abuse the system. Am I right?
I'm not using the system. I'm saying the system's fucking broken, bruh.
I don't know. It seems to be working completely fine all the time.
Damn.
Kristina.
Do we have to do a banning?
I don't know. We might need to get a fucking restraining order on this one. She's got the googly eyes tonight, saying our system's broken.
I said the system's broken. You said in the back, I heard you say it before I got up. You didn't have any other regulars here in Austin, and I said you, and I looked at you in the eye. I looked at you. Sorry, I'm from Maryland. I looked you in the eye, and you said, okay, keep this spot. But the thing is, Kristy the psychic keeps the spot. Kristina Michelle, the comedian who goes on the road.
That's not how it works.
No, not at all. I got bad news for you. You wrote your own. You wrote your own story there. That's not even a thing. That's not exactly. We talked about this.
It doesn't exist, folks.
Thank you. It's the president of the United States.
Well, how about? Oh, wait a minute. Okay.
We're not going to negotiate this now. There's a live comedy show going on, but I'm going to tell you immediately.
I asked you, are my jokes good enough like the boys?
Okay.
I asked you, are my jokes good enough like the boys? And you said you're doing a great job on the show.
Kristy, you're not a regular on this show. We thought that the psychic thing that happened at the Comedy Store a couple months ago was funny. We were able to get through 1 month of you doing that. Then you got lucky last week. You understand? You got pulled out of the bucket last week. Remember first.
To you guys, are my jokes not as good as Williams or David?
Absolutely not.
Nope.
Not even close. Nowhere even remotely close. How many of you think William, David, and Michael's jokes are better than Kristina Michelle's? And the other people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Anybody who didn't just make a lot of noise.
Are the people that made noise seen my sets on the show?
You just did a set on the show. You just did it for 60 seconds. We let you go uninterrupted even though you broke a rule, and it doesn't really matter. It's just baloney. It's just very weird that you would do that.
It's just all right.
We made it at Baker Street. I took time to actually talk with you when you're like, "Hey, can I sign up or would I get the once a month spot?" Because you weren't a regular. I said you could do the psychic thing once a month. You got it. You fucked up. There she goes, Kristina Michelle. Everybody, she fucked up. She fucked up. She fucked up.
So probably I'll sue her because it would be fun.
Keys.
I'm glad she caught her breath because I was worried.
All right.
All right, we did it.
Now they are Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Are they kind of like Joe Rogan wannabes, like out of his farm, his comedy farm camp or something?
Well, you can't deny the power of that crew. You can't deny what that is. But, I think it's just an interesting thing altogether. And I've never really spoken about it while watching it. I had a video out in 2021 that I made private just because I wanted to move past it. But I got a lot of flack online. I got a lot of trolls. I got a lot of I got people, saying some shit to me. And I I think there's a lot of different parts that are hard, you know, to hear, especially when it's like, I don't think they realize, like, I don't think I've ever been able to say that was me, Christina Michelle, signing my name off. And I was actually just going to walk away. I put Christina Michelle down for my own self. Because the way he said, like, he took time to speak to me, you know, it was a monthly spot. And I would honestly say that, yes, of course, he looks like he's the way he spoke, like, of course it makes me look like I'm an idiot, absolutely, but I'm not, you know. I'm somebody who sticks to my job, you know, and I went to Austin to uphold that spot, and that's the video. Like, I don't know if you have any questions about it. I definitely get, like, it is emotional because comedy means a lot to me. You know, what I do means a lot to me. And it's one of those moments where you speak the truth even though your voice shakes, even though people are going to come out against you, and even though people are going to boo you in a crowd, you know?
Now, this was in 2021?
Yeah, January 2021.
Okay, I think I probably met you maybe before that. I think at the Sound Room Cafe, maybe a few years before that.
Yeah, we met in, I think, 2018. 2018.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking is because I've always known you as Kristy Belich.
Yes.
And there, when you use Kristy Michelle, were you trying to create a separate identity away from Kristy Belich?
No, that was you know, when you leave a job and you sign your given name?
Yes.
Because okay, here's the thing. I don't think people understand, like, that time in comedy, nobody was doing comedy. It was the height of the pandemic.
Right.
I was on the road. I was living in my car. I was living on people's couches. I was sacrificing. And so this was the one thing that kept me going, was this spot. And I took it really serious, you know? I took it really seriously. I made my way into Austin a month before the show went to Austin. I was one of the first to show up, and I know that this guy looks good in the video. Like, he looks like, oh God, this crazy woman, how dare she? But the reality is, you know, we had a rapport. There was maybe to me, if I were going to categorize this, I would categorize this as misogyny. And the reason I put Christina Michelle down was, if my name got picked out of that bucket, I wanted to see. I wanted to see if there was something going on. And the other thing is, I was putting my given name down to say to myself, no matter what these motherfuckers do, I will always be Christina Michelle. I will always be my birth. I will always be my soul. If they call Christina Michelle, I'll go up there and I'll say, peace, bitches. And that was me. Basically, it wasn't perfect. Obviously, it looks like the way it looks. But the reality is, it was me being like, I'm signing off and going my own way. So to them, it's like, oh, we got to ban her. You fucked up. I think he said something about getting a restraining order, which really broke my heart. It fucking broke my heart, because it's like, you guys are comics too, and you understand we're putting our souls into this. This isn't just like a fun, loving time. This is COVID times, you know? We're sacrificing a lot for this shit. So that's why I put my given birth Christian name down, because as somebody with a heart, I would never do that shit to another comedian, because we're doing this from a soul level. This isn't just fun and games. This is our soul out here. We're bearing our souls out here on this stage. So, and the reason why I did that set was because January 6th had just happened. So I was talking about my time in Congress, because I had shook. Tony and I had a handshake as like, I'll give you this spot monthly, but I knew when I shook his hand, my glitter, my gut, my intuition said he's gonna fuck me over on this, and I need to back out of this agreement. So that's why I told the story about Congress and this woman taking the shit and serving them food, not washing her hands after I had shook his hand, because that deal was shit. That's what I was trying to say. I was speaking in metaphor. Storytellers speak in metaphor a lot of times. There's a lot of layers to my comedy. There's a lot of layers to comics. It's not just set up punchline. There's a lot of comics out there with layers to their shit, you know? So that's my story.
Now, Tony, is he a different type of individual to deal with or talk to when he's not? In other words, is that Tony on stage one persona, and the person you know off stage, is he a little bit less misogynist, or a little bit, because he seems a little bit more? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'll be respectful in my response. Here's what I'll say to any comics that want to do the show, and I'll tell, and people have asked me since, and then there's people on both sides of the fence on this. People have come up to me in support. People have come up to me and been like, what the fuck was that? We don't agree. What the hell were you doing? So here's what I would say. For comedians that want to do Kill Tony, or at least want to try it or have been thinking about it, absolutely do it. Everybody's comedy journey is different. I'm not going to speak ill on him or like on his persona or anything like that, because we're all comics putting our souls out there. So what I'm going to do is say, this is my story, and that's a man with a soul as well. And I'm going to respect the fact that this is hard work. All of this is hard work. But the thing is, like, that time frame was like, you know, you're driving 20 hours, 10 hours, 4 hours to try and get stage time during a time when nobody knew what was going on. And here I had this one glimmer of hope. And I look at it this way. If somebody fucks with my dreams, I'm going to speak up for myself. Did I speak up for myself perfectly? No. Is this person a human being with a heart? I believe so. So that's how I'll answer that.
Okay, because I know sometimes, especially in comedy, because well, one of my questions was, but we've already actually addressed it, but I'm trying to see if I can actually find the actual question. Have you noticed the difference between the way males are treated and females are treated in comedy? And do women comics, and do women comics treat women comics better or worse than they treat male comics? Did I write that right?
It depends. It truly depends. And you have to find your family in comedy, because comedy is a spiritual sport. This is a sport of communicative spirit. This is channeling. This is voice. This is passing down the torches. This is elders, you know, helping up, you know, generations behind this. This is a generational sport. And in this particular case, you know, was I fucked over? I would say yes. Do I ever want to go back? Hell no. Did I spend a year in Austin under my own accord and rebuilding my comedy in Austin? Absolutely. Did I learn a lot from this? 1000%, especially regarding how men treat women in comedy and how society sees women in comedy. Because, and I'm not even just saying women, but, you know, anybody who doesn't identify or who is not a certain color, a certain type, you know, it would be a fucking lie to say white men don't get treated better. You know, we still see lineups full of white motherfucking bros talking about their their fucking dicks. You know, like, that is true. That is exactly what's going on. This is an old way. What we saw right there was the patriarchy, and what we saw was a witch being burned at stake. And this motherfucking witch, what they didn't realize, rises from the fucking ashes.
A phoenix.
Yes, sir.
Now, so when you started comedy, did you have one way of, or what was the way how did you think comedy would be? And how did it turn out to be different from what you thought?
I started comedy out of I had no idea. I had to face these doctors at an Ivy League school that didn't want to hear, I don't have like the strongest voice, like my actual speaking voice, and my look, like this is how I look. Like I look like a teacher or like a librarian. I understand this is how I look, but this is how I will always look. This is who I am. And so when I was at this school, working, it was very intimidating because here I'm a woman coming out of Maryland working for an Ivy League school with these doctors that couldn't hear me. And I was a manager of a laboratory. It was a small lab, but I had a big job to do. I was 26 years old and I was trying to find my voice. And I got on stage, I think I was 28 years old, after I took this improv class that was like discount on Groupon at a place called The Pit in New York City, just to kind of get my voice. And there was a section of the improv class called the monologue. And during the monologue, I just had this like download, like I need to do this for the rest of my life. And I had something when I was 6 years old. There was something called Evening at the Improv, and it was a show on TV, and my parents had it on. And we were in Augusta, Georgia, where my dad was stationed. And I remember watching it, and this woman got on stage talking about being divorced. And I thought, but the church tells us that divorce is anti-God. Like, you can't get divorced. And there was this brick wall behind her. And I said to myself, and I still remember, I'm going to be a comedian one day. And that was when I was 6 years old. I don't know where that came from because I'm shy. And by the way, this whole thing with this Kill Tony situation, I'm the shyest woman. It's very hard for me to speak up for myself. So like when a shy woman speaks up for herself, of course these bullies are going to come at her and be like, oh my God, how dare she think she can do this? But like when I got on stage, the shy girl, I don't know what happens when I get that microphone and when I'm in front of a group of people, it's like time warps. It's like I'm out of space and time and I'm just channeling. I'm in this tunnel. And that's the first time in my life I've ever felt that other than being with horses. So it's the first time I felt like that in years when I got on stage for the first time.
Now, I think when I met you at a Sound Room Cafe, you had just come back to Maryland from New York, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I remember how a lot of the younger comics were so enamored with the fact that you just came back from New York. So she was a comedian in New York, a New York comedian, and they were like, very. I'm trying to think of the word. Well, they were treating you almost like a goddess because you come back from New York. You've done comedy all over the country now. Are there regional differences in the comedy? I mean, the fact that you did your time in New York, you did some time in LA. Do you see regional differences in the comedy? And how does that affect what you do when you're performing?
Well, I want to say this way, like I always feel like a fraud and a failure, and I battle with imposter syndrome every day. So the fact that you said that, like, I think that was probably 2017 because one of my best friends had just passed away. And New York is very bittersweet for me because it's where I got my roots in stand up and got my a lot of chops in. But regionally, I think that the reason I travel a lot is I don't know where my home really is. I don't really feel like I fit in anywhere. I feel like a fraud, as I said. But, I think that's why this Kill Tony situation was tough because it was like almost like digital proof that I'm a fraud and an imposter in my brain. It like proved to me that my psychology, the evil shit that I say to myself when I travel or when I go places is really, I travel a lot because I don't feel like I deserve to really be anywhere. And I know that this is a deep psychological thing. Even when I'm in Maryland, I feel like, oh shit, like people are going to tell me you need to go, or people like when I'm on stage, like it was one of those moments where it's like what internally I feel, this is how I feel everywhere I go. I think the only place I've ever felt like was home is Los Angeles, even though it's a really tough place to live. It's hard to say to people, like, I go on the road because I'm trying to figure out what home and family really is.
Now, I know that before I was actually, I've been doing comedy for 9 years, but I used to have a job where I used to travel across the country, around the country. And I was, for a while, like 3 weeks a month, I was living out of a hotel. It was a good paying job, but it wasn't home. And whenever I packed to go on the road, I used to take 3 things with me to make that my home. I used to pack my guitar. So when I'd be in the hotel every night, that was home. So where my guitar was, I had a little portable camcorder that I could pop a VCR. Well, I'm saying portable because these things are huge. They're like this big. They're big enough that my camcorder was the size of what you'd see back in the old TV stage where you rested on your shoulder, and I could put a full VHS tape in it, and I would watch video movies on like the little monitor, like the monitors like this, and I would watch Princess Bride, Silverado, and I can't remember the other movie. May have been my Faulty Towers collection. And to me, that's what, when I had those things and my guitar, I was home. Yeah. And even though I'd be out on the road working on telephone poles and doing my job. And it's funny, like, but when I was on a telephone pole, I was doing my job and I was comfortable, but I wasn't home. But when I was in my hotel room, I had my guitar and my little 3 movies, and I could be me. And I was just wondering, there are like little things that are not home, but represent home to you. What, trinkets, a little black bear or something, or not this one, this is mine. You can't have this one. I'm not selfish, but you have to get your own. I'm just saying, but are there like little things that you can look at and just say, this is me, or this is home? Or
absolutely. You're going to make me cry. That's so emotional, dude. The fact that you bring your guitar, I mean, music it doesn't matter how rich or how poor you are. There's nothing more healing than a song. There's nothing more healing. There's nothing that can take you back to a memory than listening to music. Music has always been with me on the road. Albums, for me, with the Kill Tony situation, I understand like people are going to come at me, but I kept listening to Taylor Swift's live tour album because I did something bad. The live song, You Never Trust a Narcissist, but They Love Me. Like, just when she opens up the tour, it was like I kept playing that over and over again. Essential oil, which is something from military. My dad was like active military for my first 10 years, but he was a 20-year. He served for 20. And so we moved a bit, not a lot. Like they had me later on in his service, but when we were in new towns, my mom would always put perfume right here when I would go to a new school, so that I would know, like, even though like there's a bunch of new people, like all this stuff, like just smell like home is our fam. And so like I love lavender oil, and I will always have some kind of bottle of essential oil, just a tiny bottle, even like from CVS, like just a tiny little lavender or something. And I put it on the vents in my car, and I create like almost this spa situation when I drive, so that I can be home when I'm driving, these long drives.
See, when you were talking about the music when you're talking about the music, I was also thinking of smells, because smells like music, they take you back to a time and place.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you had your old horse blanket.
I do. It's literally, I have it. A friend of mine made, so this sounds weird, and like this is a very like native indigenous tradition.
Right.
But when my horse died, a couple of my friends went to his body because it took a couple of days. He died in a snowstorm. And so we had to cover his body with like his blanket. So his blanket has like his old blood stain and everything. I understand how creepy this sounds to certain people, but there's a very deep tradition. And then a friend at the farm and her mother covered him in a wreath over his blanket. And then a couple other friends cut pieces of his tail. So I have pieces of his tail, and somebody had his tail made into a bracelet for me. And I was going through a really rough time in LA in 2018. You know, I've had ups and downs with living situations. I've lived in a lot of dangerous places. And in living in LA, his tail's somewhere in LA, but the bracelet got lost. So I had his tail bracelet with me that I used to wear. But I still have more of his tail. A friend chopped up a good portion of his tail for me. And she braided it and put it in like almost like a big box, like a memorial box for me. But that doesn't come with me.
Okay, because to me it was just, I was thinking of your association with horses and how they've helped to heal you. Well, I'm saying horses, but there's also, you had a particular horse. You know, I know like my stepdaughter didn't have her own horse. You know, when she was riding, she used to take care of horses to help subsidize her riding lessons, because we were not people of wealth. We were people who just wanted the good stuff for our kid, you know?
Yeah.
So she had to take care of other people's horses. So she doesn't have, you know, like a horse, but you have a horse, but you also have your love for like horses, you know? So that's what I was wondering about this. If you had the smell of your horse that could help calm you, you know, or take you back, or, you know, or that would help you be like home when you're on the road or something like that.
Well, I'll stop. Like if I'm in a town, like I was in Florida on the road and I stopped at Tractor Supply just to be able to smell like the smell of hay and stuff. And I'll go into like a farm. I'm not afraid. Like when I was in Texas, I rode horses a little bit and just some little lessons down there. But it's, you know, I'm well aware, you know, horses are extremely expensive, and I know that it's going to take time in my life to get to the time to get horses again. But, you know, I made a promise to myself that I'm going to keep going hard with comedy. And I'm also well aware, like growing up in Maryland, like we have a lot of access to horses, but it's so expensive.
Yes.
I've been working since I was 11 years old, scrubbing buckets out in the winter. This is from, I have clicky wrists and stuff.
Yeah, actually, the mic picks that up.
Yeah, this is from cleaning horse buckets since I was 11.
Wow.
With a scrubber. Yep. Because you're out there in the ice and breaking down the ice and scrubbing all the water, and yeah, it's and mucking horse stalls. The shoulder's fucked up, so yeah, lots of manure, lots of shit cleaning in my life, cleaning up a lot of shit.
And there's no reason for you to take more shit just because you want to do comedy.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm GD Fenderson, certified forensic humorist and host of Done Way Past Funny. Thank you for watching our continued interview with Kristy Belich, the headlining feminist. And please come back to watch more of our interview with Kristy. And when you come back, bring a friend.